Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at a couple really cool products from Teslogic. We're looking at their transmitter kit V2 along with the wireless charger phone mount. So the obvious comparison to this is the Enhance Auto Sexy Buttons kit, and obviously that comes with the buttons, but it also has the phone monitoring screen, which is very similar to what you get with this product. And Tesla does give you some data, and they give you more data when you're in track mode. Obviously you have to have a car that has track mode. But they don't give you all of it, so it's nice to see a lot more data while you're driving and just more data in general, so these types of products are really nice for that. And I want to thank Teslogic for sending me out this kit for free. It's a product sample. They have no input on my opinion in the review. I'll be looking at how to install it, all the different features, my favorite features, what I don't like about it, and a comparison to that competitor product. And be sure to use the timeline below or the description to click on any part of the video that you want to see if you already know you want to buy it and you want to see the install, or if you want to see a deep dive of the features, or you just want to see the best and worst things about it. So getting into what's included in each box. So the general idea of this kit is it basically taps into the car with your OBD circuit, and that's going to vary depending on what model year you have, but you install that somewhere in the car. And then you install this MagSafe wireless phone mount. You can also not have it charge your phone and just have the mount itself. It comes with the kit. But if you want it to charge, you can have a cable that you can route down below. And then of course the idea being that it's sort of like a dashboard and you can see all of your stats and extra information, as well as have some controls. So some pretty nice packaging with QR codes for installation manuals. So included in the transmitter box is the transmitter itself, the rubber phone mount with the 3M tape on it, this transmitter cable that is spec'd to whatever model car you have, and you can pick that when you purchase it, this little trim tool, some extra adhesive, a good little warning here to tell you kind of how to remove it and not increase wear on that stick, and then it also comes with the metal plate and magnetic ring, which you can use if your phone does not have MagSafe and you obviously still want to use it and you didn't buy the wireless charger. And included with the wireless charger is pretty simple. Got the wireless charger itself with the Type-C connection, and then it's got a couple adapters for cars that only have Type A, and then also this 90-degree adapter if you don't have room for it. So I'd highly recommend using the QR codes on the boxes to watch those install guides. They're really well made and they're pretty short, so it's probably going to be your best bet for looking how to install these, and it looks like they are customized for your model year as well, which is pretty cool. I'll give a chapter at the end of the video, so you can skip to that if you want to see my tips on things I ran into and good ways to install it, but those videos looked pretty good, so I'm going to get it installed. So first, I'm just going to touch on the overall pros and cons of the product to give you an idea of what's the best and worst things about it. So the first pro is its smoothness and overall functionality. I had never had any lagging issues in about the week and a half that I've used it. It loads up really quickly, so you just open the app and put it on. It doesn't take a bunch of time to connect, and overall it's just really smooth. Another great thing that a lot of people are going to like is it looks very OEM. I've seen a lot of the other products. They're pretty close. This is definitely the closest one I've seen. You can see it in the footage here. It's almost the same font in every screen. The energy screen really matches the Tesla Solar Energy app. And all the fonts and logos and indicators all look very similar. It's very well integrated, and I've had people comment that it looks like it should have been there to begin with, and they thought it was like a random screen that I attached, and it wasn't even my phone. So really well integrated. So another pro of this design is the mounting location, and it's right behind the steering wheel, which is really great. It gives you, where it's supposed to be in a normal car that has a dash. Similar to like Model S or X, it's right in the steering wheel, which makes it obviously great to use as a dash. You can control it pretty easily with your finger as well as the scroll wheel on the steering wheel. And it also allows for great video playback on road trips. I just did one quick road trip and I was able to have some videos up. Obviously you can't do that on the screen while you're driving in autopilot. And it's low enough where it doesn't make autopilot angry that you're not quite looking at the road, and it's really easy to look back and forth, and it's just a great spot to have a screen. And this dash position can also be sort of a con. It kind of depends on what you want. I think this is the best spot for usability and visibility, but quite obviously I think a lot of people that see this, it blocks a little bit of the climate air. So I have my settings where it goes all the way up and around, and I do feel a little bit of air still, but it's nowhere near as strong as if I take the phone off. And I'm somebody that usually pre-climates the car, and I think the Tesla system does a really good job of changing the whole air temperature, and I don't usually need it. I usually have my climate on medium anyways, so it doesn't affect me that much, but that might be a downside for some people. Another one is the magnets. They're really strong. This was one of my main concerns when I saw this design was, is this thing going to fall off under performance driving and stuff like that? I didn't have any issues with that at all. It maybe rotates a little bit, which can be nice for adjustability. If you can't get it right in the same spot, or if you mess up the mounting, you can sort of adjust it a little bit. So the only thing is maybe it rotates a little bit, but under full acceleration, full braking, it never came off at all. Another big one for me is the performance page and the track mode. These are awesome features. Obviously, I already have a Model 3 Performance, so some of the track mode might not be as useful, but if you have a dual motor car, this is awesome to be able to unlock this stuff. I know they also have some other kits that can actually unlock more power, but this one is still great. Being able to see a G meter at all times, which I don't know how Tesla doesn't have that outside of track mode. And a 0 to 60 timer is a really fun thing. You can see your power limit. All that stuff is really fun to look at while you're driving. And the Teslogic track mode is a really cool thing. That's obviously really nice if you don't have a performance car. But even if you do, it's more enhanced. You know, the drift mode, I was able to try it a little bit. I wasn't able to film it, but it does work. It fully turns off the front motor. You get an indicator on the screen that says front motor disabled. And you can tell because even if you have grip, it's slower. It's just the rear motor running, but that makes it kind of more fun to do some drifting and stuff. And again, if you don't have a performance model with track mode, it's super nice. And combining that with the battery preheat means you can do some 0 to 60 runs and preheat your battery, which is really cool. Instead of having to navigate to a supercharger, you can charge your car up to full, preheat the battery, and do some 0 to 60 runs and do some back-to-back testing and stuff like that. So I tried that out, so I'll show you guys what I got for my first results with that. Okay, so we're going to do a quick 0 to 60 test. We've got the battery preheated using the preheat feature. So we're going to see what we can do here at 93% state of charge. Okay, we're going to do our second run from the same spot. For our third run right here, same place. And for some reason it triggered the invalid slope slightly uphill. The other ones were not like that. It's probably pretty close. This is the flattest area that's close to me, so we'll have to go with that for now, but I just wanted to test it and see how that was. And another pro is just the functionality of it. Like I said, it's kind of a data and functionality product where you can have some data stuff and have a lot of cool things to look at, but it also does some nice features. So we already talked about the track mode stuff, but regen control is amazing for low grip situations where you have really like snow on the road or it's actively snowing. It's really annoying to have regen on because every time you lift off a little bit or autopilot or whatever, it's gonna lose grip because you're trying to apply torque. So you want to be able to coast in low grip situations, especially on a road trip. So being able to turn off regen is huge, and that's a cool feature. And then already touched on it a little bit with battery preheating, but this is a really nice one. I tested it. It heated the battery to supercharging temperatures in about 25 minutes, which is exactly what it quotes. Obviously that's in the summertime here, but that seems to work just fine, and that's really great if you're using an EA station that you can't navigate to, or like I said, you want to get max performance. And my test was a little weird because I was doing it stationary for a little bit. It's really meant to use the waste heat of the motors when you do that. So you really should be driving, and that's how most people are going to use it on a road trip. And it also has the blind spot and signal indicators, which is kind of a nice benefit. I know Tesla now has added a little blind spot, has red on the side camera when you have your turn signal on and somebody's in the blind spot. But it's just right in front of you. For people who want that, it's another indicator of which signal is on, so that's kind of nice as well. Another one I noticed is the brake light, so it's kind of unclear sometimes when your brake light's on with regen, but this has a little red line on the bottom that lights up when your brake light's on. Okay, so now moving on to the cons of this product. So I do have a couple improvements I'd like them to make and just things that it's missing. So it is lacking some customizability. I feel like when I looked into this originally, I thought it would be a little more customizable. You can just pick which screens are active, but like I said, there's only one style for the whole device, and that style is the right style. It should be OEM, if anything. But if you wanted to make it look a little different or have some dials or something like that, we don't have anything like that. So being able to customize the look more and not just have it be light or dark mode and look OEM would be nice. Another thing that's lacking some customizability is the units. So I'd like to be able to adjust the units individually. It just matches what your screen does, which means they all have to be the same. And for certain things, it just doesn't work at all. So for example, battery temperature, most EV people think of that in Celsius as it is in service mode and stuff. But that's permanently in Fahrenheit, and I haven't been able to change that. I'd like to set that to Celsius, but keep the outside temperature in Fahrenheit. And of course, I'm going to leave my speed in miles per hour, but if you could change that too, or have both, that'd be cool. If you could have a miles an hour and a kilometers right below it, that's always kind of fun to look at. And the power meter on the performance display, I'd like to be able to have that switch to kilowatts, just like every other power in the car. I know it's fun to see horsepower too, so again, having that option would be cool. The shortcut menu, I think, could use some work to be more functional. So you have those features I talked about, like regen control and track mode and stuff like that, and battery preheating. That's all in a separate menu, but if you're on the main dash display, there's a little blue arrow, and you click that, it pulls up the shortcut menu, which is nice, but I wish the actual shortcut page was maybe better laid out, because if you use a lot of different features, it'd be nice to be able to just quickly scroll over and maybe have a grid of big boxes that you can just tap instead of having to click a tiny little slider. That's a lot harder to do when you're driving. So if you could just have, or even just in every screen, if we could have the shortcut arrow, because it's only in the main dash screen. If we could have that on every other screen, it'd be nice to be able to click that and then have it pull up a big grid of the ones you want to have on there. And then you just click whichever one you want to turn on, or maybe hold to get to details. I think that could be improved a little bit. And there's just some data stuff missing. I know there's like a nerd mode you can turn on. It says if you're a nerd, and there's some extra data pieces you can gather. But I wish they would have maybe another screen with this, a nerd mode screen that just kind of has all the data spit out, similar to Scan My Tesla, which is an app you can use with other like OBD scanners that just has a big wall of data. That'd be nice to have, because I know that the system has access to it. If you could sort of turn that on. Things I want to see, like pack voltage, is a big one that we can't see in here. I don't know why that's not a thing. So the only way to see that in the Tesla is when you're supercharging. Only when you're charging, you can go into service mode and see your voltage. It's the only way. So I'd like to see that all the time, as well as more detailed temperatures. Like I said, the only temperature we have is battery, and I'm assuming it's average. But seeing like min-max on that, seeing motor temps, that'd be nice as well. And maybe something like RPM of the motors would be kind of cool as well. So just more raw data, maybe optional, would be a really cool thing to add. And then, of course, just doing a quick comparison to the Enhance Auto Sexy Buttons kit. It's similar in the fact that you have a Dash app to compare your data with, but it's also completely different in the fact that it includes buttons. Now, this kit is cheaper, and for me, I don't really care that much about the physical buttons. If you're somebody that really wants the physical button, it's really nice to be able to put it on the steering wheel or underneath the screen or something like that, but it is more expensive, and this has a lot of very similar features to it. It's just a different way of controlling this said features, and I think there's some improvements to be made, like I said, about some of those controls, but it's very usable to me overall, and I like the integration of the dash feature a lot better than their product. And I think both companies are really trying to improve their product. You know, a lot of them come out with different updates, but I'd like to see some more updates from Teslogic to match some of the shortcut features and little gimmicks that Enhance Auto put with their kit. And if they don't want to add that extra data sheet I was talking about, make this adapter compatible with a Scan My Tesla app, where I can just download that app instead if I want to look at that in-depth data, which is what Enhance Auto does. There's a mode in their app where you can turn on Scan My Tesla compatibility, and it lets their receiver work with Scan My Tesla. So next in the video, I'm going to have a deep dive on all the different screens and then an installation tips and tricks section, and that'll be the end of the video. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick overview of how the app works. So you simply open the app and it will connect to the car. And then inside of the app, they have this whole layout of all these different pages. And essentially on the far left, you have the ability to navigate between the pages and configure which pages you want to show up. So you can select which ones you want to see, and that kind of allows you to make it so it's easier to navigate. And these pages can be navigated either with your finger by just reaching up, or on the GoPro you can see you can also use the right scroll wheel to navigate between them. This does change your autopilot settings when you're doing this, but it's kind of nice if you don't care about that to have that option. Now this first page essentially just has some settings on it, all the different settings for some of the pages, and you can do a heads-up display mode and what you want to see where, and then you can also have your light and dark mode availability if you want that to match the display or do a certain type. So this is where those settings are. And we'll just go page by page. So the first page is the shortcuts page here, and this is essentially all of the actual functions that this has. That's not just a dash to get information from. And these are some really cool features. So battery preheat, this is essentially allowing you to preheat your battery for charging or max performance. In a Tesla, the only way to do this is to be navigating to a supercharger and be close enough for it to trigger. This is really nice if you're not using a Tesla charger or you are on a drag strip or something like that and you want to get max performance, you can heat up the battery. And obviously you have your monitoring for that so you can see what temperature it's at. The chill kickdown is a kind of neat feature if you like that kind of stuff, where if you're in chill mode, once you go over 80% throttle, it will put on to sport power, and then you have to wait a little bit and it will go back to chill power. And then snow ice mode, this essentially gives you enhanced traction control. I can't test it because I'm in the summer right now, but that's something in here. Slip start this is just another way to enable slip start, which is something in Teslas. Regen brake control is a really big one. If you have limited traction, like a snowy road trip or something like that, it's really annoying to have regen on, and newer Teslas don't allow you to even turn regen to low like they used to be able to. You can't turn it off at all. So this gives you the ability to turn it off. You can turn this mode on and have it set to 0, and that allows you to completely coast, which is a really weird feeling in a Tesla. But it's really nice if you don't have grip, because every time the car tries to regen on a low traction surface, it feels like you're going to slip and slide around. And winter wipers, again, I can't test this exactly, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You have it on at a certain temperature, it will put the wipers into service mode when you park it, and that allows them to not get stuck in ice and snow. And then they have a anti-ticket speed limit that just limits your speed, and you can set that threshold. And then there's Teslogic track mode. So this is a really cool thing. I think they're still working on developing some other enhancements for this for like dual motor cars and stuff. Obviously mine is a performance, already has the Tesla track mode, but this has some enhanced capability. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the opportunity to test all these features out in this video, but I would definitely love to post some more content later if I get the chance. They have some stuff on their website about it, but there's different track modes that they have available. And from my understanding, these are pretty advanced. And for example, the drift mode is a true drift mode. The Tesla drift mode is really cool, and it does allow you to easily drift, but it doesn't really let you do sort of closer to burnouts, I guess. This truly disables the front motor, unlike the Tesla system. It also has a dyno mode, which Tesla does have. This is just an easier way to get that done, along with a few other modes. So I'll see what I can show for this later, but it's a really cool thing to play around with, and it's really nice if you don't have track mode on, say, a dual motor car. Next page is going to be the About page. This gives you information about your car. You can see the birthday, which is kind of a unique thing there. You can see, what you have installed in your car. You can see battery information. Now, this does have a degradation meter. You can see mine says it's poor right now. I have seen this change throughout, and only the week that I've had it, this number has changed, which is interesting. Now, I don't think this is really a true degradation. If you really want to get that number, you have to do a full test where you fully charge it and fully discharge the battery and see how much energy you can put through it. This is just using the voltage to try to estimate that. So it gives you an idea, but it's not entirely accurate. And then the energy page gives you more detailed information about the energy, the lifetime energy of the vehicle, which is pretty cool. If, for example, the last person who owned the car, or you reset the lifetime trip meter. Then moving on, we have the performance page here, which is kind of what I like to run it on most of the time. And this gives you your speed where the P is, and then it gives you an all-time G meter, gives you battery temperature, power limit, which is cool to see just based on state of charge. It gives you a horsepower, positive and negative over here. And then it tells you the max after each acceleration run. And then it also gives you some timers. So when you are on the road, you can do a 0 to 40, 0 to 60, and quarter mile. And it'll populate those numbers. All you have to do is come to a complete stop and accelerate, and it will time it. And the next page here is the energy page. This is a really cool layout. I think they really tried to model it after the Tesla Energy app, which has a great design. So I like to see that here. It's really clean looking. And it essentially monitors all your power draws in the car. So you have your rear and front motor. And I was confused by this originally because all these say current, and I'm thinking that's, kilowatts is power, not current. But they're just saying currently, like that's what's drawing. So those are power numbers, not current numbers, but it's currently in time. But it gives you your battery state of charge and temperature, and then shows the total drawn or available right now. Obviously the car is in park right now, so it's not fully on. So the motors aren't enabled, but you can see just the car's display and lights are pulling 0.4 kilowatts. And if I were to enable the heated seats in the display, that immediately comes on and shows 0.2 kilowatts of seat heating along with the air. So if I turn on the air and the heated seats, we'll see that come on. The audio will get bad for a second here, along with that battery heating. So that's really cool to see. I'll really be really interested to see that in the winter of how much that varies depending on how cold the battery is when you start to heat it. So this is really nice to be able to see your power usage in your car and just track all that and try to optimize it if you're in a sticky situation on a road trip, for example. And then the next page is kind of the default dash page, which has speed, your gear, the speed limit, and then a bunch of trip information where you have your projected range based on your efficiency and your trip information. And then you have energy for the trip, as well as just current power, as well as max power. And then the final page is a navigation screen if you want another way to use navigation in the car. All right, so after installing the module, I wouldn't say there's very many tips. The video is very good. Just follow the video almost exactly and it will lead you in the right direction. Make sure to use the pry tool when you're tucking the wire over there. That works super well. The biggest thing is just make sure to move the seat. If you move the seat, it's going to make it so much easier, and you follow pretty much every hand movement he does in the video. The trickiest part is going to be reaching the connector for the seat, and really it's just, again, you got to move the seat all the way back and just understand that it's on the roof of the seat and you're not going to be able to see it when you're just looking at it from a level ground. And make sure to pay attention which connector to plug in. It's going to be the yellow one on the left. It's not entirely clear in the video because they go pretty fast with this part. Just make sure you do the right one there. And then I would just do a full range of motion test with the seat. Just make sure the connector's not snagging on anything. They show a zip tie. I didn't use a zip tie. I think it's fine. You just have to make sure to tuck it underneath that little piece of carpet, just like it shows. Now the next part is going to be to install the phone holder, whether using the wireless charger or not. This has to go on the steering column. They don't really show, this is probably the only thing they don't do super well in the video, is like showing the best way to align this. So I'm going to try to find a good way to do that that's easy, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is thread the cable of the charger through the phone mount. And obviously this is important because we need to line it up. So you have to use adhesive to attach the back of the charger. Just confirm which side you're doing. It's the more, shiny, good-looking metallic side that actually has the magnets. But depending on the size of your phone, you're going to have to change where this is to get a good mount. So I have a S24 Ultra, so one of the biggest phones on the market. And if I, I also have a D brand MagSafe case. And when I find that alignment, you can see if I were to just put this in the direct middle, it would totally not line up at all. This is basically going to have to be mounted all the way in the bottom. And with this D brand case that has MagSafe, it looks like it's about in the middle, but definitely verify that you're in the middle. And then I would say the easiest thing is going to be to stick this onto the mount first, and then get it centered in your wheel. So what I've found is best to kind of get this where you want it. You're going to want to attach your phone to it and then kind of try to lean back, put the steering wheel and seat in your driving position, and then just see kind of how high you want it to be. The obvious one is you want it to be in the center this direction, but it might vary how high you want it to be on here. It has to go on this very back surface. It can't go on the top surface because then it's going to angle downward. You want it to be like this. And for me, it's looking like I pretty much want to mount this as high as it will go on here. That's going to be probably the best. So I'm going to try to mount it as high up as possible on this back surface and then right in the middle. Alright, so there's a couple methods you could use to try to get this in the center. It's pretty tricky just doing some normal measuring here. If you have access to a caliper, it's going to be a lot easier. I was trying to use the turn signal stock. I measured 135 millimeters between them, so that would be 67.5 millimeters, and then I just kind of used a pencil and eyeballed that with the end of the stock and then drew a little line right in the middle. Obviously the pencil will erase, but it needs to be in front of it so you can see it when you're lining it up. The other method, if you don't have a caliper, and this is probably easier, I just didn't grab tape, you can actually use the Tesla T on the steering wheel. Just make sure your steering wheel is straight, and then just lay a piece of tape right down the center, make sure that it's straight, and then make a little mark on there like that. If you do it this way, you can use a ruler to verify that it's in the middle of the Tesla logo, so you can try to get that as straight as possible right on my mark, and that looks just about right in the middle. And then we can stick the tape, and they do give you an extra tape if you mess this up. But VHB is very strong, which is good for something like this because a lot of phones are heavy now. So you can give that a try and see how that can work for you. And then just like the video says, you're going to want to lower the steering wheel all the way when you're doing this install. Now that you know where you're going to install it, which height, you're going to want to lower it all the way because you're going to want to tuck that cable into the steering column and down to the trim below. You can watch the video to see that. It's pretty easy. Tesla's center console has a really good place to tuck wires, and they have you plug it into the rear. There is a way. I have in one of my previous videos where I installed EV Base's lighting kit. I did show a way that you can drill a hole into the center console to get power into there once you tuck it underneath the center console. So you can check out that install video if you want to see how to do that. I'm not going to do that here, but if you want it to be even cleaner and you want to use one of your ports in your center console, that's the only way to do that. And the next thing in following the video is to put the cable through the leather wrap back here. Obviously we're going to want to do that. I found that there is a little bit of extra length here. It's definitely good to tuck it pretty tight all the way to the plug-in back there so it's nice and clean. And then do the install with the sticky, and then manage the cable as the last step. So one thing I did find that you should pay attention to is to make sure that the VHB is fully sticking on its whole surface area. I had it a little too high up originally. That's where I wanted it, but I just checked it again and my phone looks fine in there. But just make sure you're getting full adhesion on this because it starts to taper off and it's not a consistent slope for this whole piece. And you're going to want that to stick under, more intense driving, especially the kind of driving that these cars can create. So that was my overview of the Teslogic Transmitter Kit V2 along with their wireless MagSafe charger. Overall, I think this is an awesome product. Anyone that wants to see more data in their car and have a little bit of extra features that can be really nice in certain situations, I think this is a great deal for what you're getting, and they also have some other products for dual motor cars that can get some performance upgrades. So like I said, this product was sent for free by Teslogic, but they had no previous look on this review, and all the opinions are my own. As you can see, I have some improvements for them to make for sure, but if you do want to purchase one, I'll have a link in the description below. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.